I think we're live. I can't tell because of we've got ourselves a problem by the looks of it. But if we are live, what is going on, guys? You're listening to the Realest podcast, or yeah, the Realest podcast. Give me a second if we are live. If we're not, so I'm going to be playing this music in the meantime.
Suffocating me. Whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Ooh, whoa, oh, oh, yeah. I've got so much pride, it's eating away at everything inside. Whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Ooh, whoa, oh, oh, yeah. I'm going out of my mind, looking for a purpose in life. Save me from myself. My demons follow me, becoming someone else. I never wanted to be trapped in these walls. They got me screaming, save me from myself, and let the gasoline ignite as I fall like a satellite. Oh, fall like a satellite. With no one by my side, become so lost in between what's wrong or right. Whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Ooh, whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Locked away inside my head to escape every lie they've ever said. Whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Ooh, whoa, oh, oh, yeah. Waiting for sanity to return. We can watch the world as it burns.
Okay, so it said we are live. Okay, there's a bunch of technical difficulties going on, right? Well, a lot of stuff going on, and of course it's going to come on. This is going to happen while the show's starting. Um, my this the program that we stream on XSplit has decided to give me a notification saying that we aren't authorized right now to stream because I have to authorize it through XSplit once again. So this is just great. So if we are live, that is awesome. What's up, Matthew? How you doing? Um, but if not, well then, ha, we're screwed for a little bit. So I'm joined by Andrew once again. Kyle is not here. He's dealing with what he's got going on. And again, we will not have any shows at all this week in respect to Kyle. I'm joined by Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I actually think that after the show we just witnessed, YouTube is completely broken.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Matthew says, if Undertaker can return, so can I. Well, welcome back, man. How have you been? Let us know. Um, what a show. I mean, that's all I'll say is what a show.
Oh yeah. I mean that is what we call a go-home show.
Yeah, absolutely. What'd you think of what'd you think of the Undertaker returning?
I'll tell you what, man, everything top to bottom, was perfect for the Undertaker. The vignettes leading up to the Undertaker coming just slowly bringing up the anticipation he's going to be here. And then, with 7 minutes left, I'm sitting to myself. I'm like, wait a minute. There's only 7 minutes left. How are they going to include the Undertaker? And as soon as I think that to myself, all of a sudden you hear Undertaker's music hit, and all just went over the crowd. And that's only the beginning of it. Like, I will go on a limb and say that there has probably never ever been and never will be a superstar with an entrance that really captivates the WWE universe or any universe in general as the Undertaker. And just that feeling where he's sitting up and he just climbs up onto the steel steps and he's just staring at you with the smoke all around him, the light slightly faded so you can't see his face. Like, that's an image that will forever burn in your memory. And it's one of the most memorable entrances in the history of WWE.
Right.
And even after all these years, it still is a big entrance. And it was good to see how they kept that going into tonight's episode. It really showed how much we've been missing The Undertaker and how much we really want The Undertaker to be there.
Yeah, YouTube is being ridiculous right now. Like, this is honestly starting to piss me off with how ridiculous it's being. Like,
Told you, man. YouTube broken.
it's like you don't understand how much it's pissing me off. Like, it signed me out of everything. Like, I'm just getting to the point where I'm letting everyone know we're live. Bella says, finally found it. What'd you find, Bella? Huh? Huh? Huh?
The most must-see show.
On the YubTubs?
Absolutely. On the YubTubs. Absolutely.
So, just for everyone to know, we are going to have the lines open tonight. There is the number. Once again, if this is the first time you're listening since, forever ago, this is our Skype number. This is not our actual number. So, just for anyone that gets any bright ideas and thinks that they're going to spam someone's phone, it's not. It's through Skype. You're more than welcome to call the show and give us your thoughts on what you think of tonight's, Monday Night Raw. Or Tuesday, or Smackdown. Shit, Raw. Raw.
Well, you know what? That's the way that Raw should have ended, and that's the big thing too, because they did exactly what Monday Night Raw did, but they took it a step further. See, the thing about Monday Night Raw is they tended to throw all their talent together, and they really seemed to waste the opportunities when it came to the matches. Tonight's matches, especially with like the tag team Survivor Series matchup, it looked great. I mean, the Smackdown team looked really good together, and it was interesting because you got two heels on that team in the Usos and Breezango, and the only people who were acting like a heel was Breezango. It was kind of crazy to see that the Usos kind of reverted to their old selves in honor of the SmackDown Live team.
Yeah. It was nice seeing, like, Breezango and stuff like that. Good seeing Booker T.
Yes, yeah.
But I loved hearing Edge's name being called by Tony Schimmel.
Who always does a fantastic job doing it, too.
Let's listen to it, shall we? But that's not his best. Let's hear his best, shall we?
It's amazing, like how certain answers really captivate, certain superstars, and it's just.
Did you not hear the voice crack?
I mean, his voice has got to crack the way he does it, but
No, the one time he did the rated R Superstar.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that he was able to call it for him, and it's good to see Edge back on WWE programming, even if it was just for the cutting edge. I really missed him. For those of you who don't know, Edge has always been my favorite wrestler. Him and Randy Orton, my top wrestlers. So, like, to see them together in the ring, and even a shout out to Rated RKO kind of like had me very excited, and kind of missing Edge in the ring. I think we all do when it comes to Edge and him not being able to perform anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I got chills, but it was nice to hear the music, and then I totally forgot about Undertaker being there tonight, and then boom, his music hit, and it was like, oh. But
SmackDown Live was that good where you didn't even really fathom the idea that Taker still had to appear.
But it is great, I'll say this, it is great to know that The Undertaker is more than likely, if he's not a full-time performer, he's going to be a part-time performer for SmackDown, which they've needed.
That's the thing, though, and like I remember I was just telling you about this. the one line he said in the ring. I mean, of course, he had everybody hanging off of his words, but I will not let WrestleMania define who I am. It will not define me any longer. You know, like just that is powerful enough, and it like suggests that he's here to stay at least, for a while.
Yeah. Matthew says Edge's beard though. Yeah, I agree. His beard was kind of crazy. It was kind of weird seeing him with long hair again. I'm kind of used to seeing him with short hair. But
Yeah, yeah.
but did you watch the State of the WWE Universe last night?
I did not.
Man,
I was so turned off by the idea.
Mick Foley and Daniel Bryan went after each other. It was nasty.
Wow.
It was bad. But Go Home Show, I'll give them an 8. I'll give them an 8 for tonight's show. I mean, obviously it was going to be something special since it being since it's being the 900th episode and the Go Home Show. Now it's more of let's talk, Survivor Series. We saw the Raw Women's Superstars invade SmackDown, and the SmackDown Women's Superstars are kind of standing tall, which is kind of interesting because last night we saw the men stand over Raw's men stand over the SmackDown's men roster, and now we see SmackDown's women's roster stand over Raw's women's roster, and it's kind of okay, who's gonna win?
Yeah, and it was interesting to see that dynamic to have Raw invade SmackDown for the women, and it almost makes it seem like is there something going on here? Is it signs that maybe Team SmackDown is going to take it, and Team Raw will take it for the women's division because they both looked weak in their retrospective invasions.
Yeah, and if you want my personal opinion, I think it's going to be the opposite team of each. I think the team that is standing on top of whoever is standing on top will lose. So I think SmackDown will beat Team Raw for the men's roster, and I think Team Raw women's roster will beat SmackDown's roster.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, as it stands right now, I definitely think that the men SmackDown's going to take it, the women Raw's going to take it. I mean, how could you not, especially with the all-star lineup excluding Alicia Fox of Monday Night Raw. But I still stand behind Team SmackDown going into Survivor Series for the tag team division.
Let's talk about the major elephant in the room when it comes to this, though. What about The Miz beating Dolph Ziggler tonight with the help of Maurice?
Let me say this, and I knew you started talking about Survivor Series, and I thought we were going to transition to more of what's going on with Survivor Series, and that's why I was kind of thinking I was going to say, you know what, we really shouldn't have forgotten about The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, and it's another thing I talked to you about. I was like, wow, I don't think SmackDown learned from their lesson before. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you watch our No Mercy show, we really gave kudos to Dolph Ziggler and The Miz for tearing the house down. And, this was a card that had John Cena and AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, all going at each other in the opening match. And, you think you can't get any better than that? Well, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz tore the house down. And it was true again tonight. Tonight, it was a fantastic match. Couldn't have done it any better. And, The Miz walks away with the championship, and, he does it with the help of Maurice once again. And, of course, the Spirit Squad got involved. So, it's interesting to see that The Miz was able to kind of retain his title, and now he has the advantage going into Survivor Series, with that big win looming over.
Yeah, but we can't say that the Spirit Squad is the only reason why Dolph Ziggler lost. That's not the case this time. This was all Maurice. Maurice pushing or countering the roll-up by pushing Dolph Ziggler and then putting Miz on top for the 1-2-3. I still don't think that the Miz should have won. I'm against it. 100% against it.
I know you're not a fan of Dolph Ziggler, not in retrospect. I'm a bigger fan of Dolph Ziggler. I always advocate for Dolph Dolph
Well, I
Ziggler. I
think
mean,
Dolph should be going home
I'm pretty much the
Survivor
Paul
Series as
Heyman for Dolph
champion.
Ziggler. Well, I definitely would have liked the match better, and even Sami Zayn, when he tweeted it, he wanted Dolph Ziggler. But, I kind of see why they did it. And it looks
And
better
hang on,
if
we
it's
have our
a
first
heel
caller.
versus
We
a
have our first
face.
caller here. 316, you're on the air.
Hello?
What's up?
Yeah, what's up, dude?
What'd you think of tonight's
Me.
SmackDown?
It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Like, Taker's thing was amazing.
Yeah, and, that's the thing,
And, I marked out for Edge.
You marked out for Edge, huh?
Because Edge and Taker are always been, like, my favorite, and seeing them both on SmackDown again was awesome.
Yeah, who do you think will win at Survivor Series?
I'm guessing SmackDown, Team SmackDown. Just because they've been pushing better. SmackDown's been a better show. But I think Raw Women's will win.
You think Raw will win? What's the theory behind this one?
The Raw Women's, I don't know. I think they've just been pushed better, the attack and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look at the Raw women superstars. I mean,
The Miz won tonight, though.
Yeah.
When I just didn't expect that at all.
yeah, that's a huge shocker. Absolutely. But I mean, it was definitely a great match.
Ziggler versus Sami.
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather see Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler. Also, it's kind of I don't know really how to say it. It's kind of surprising that they did this.
Yeah. Does that make you think Miz is gonna win, or do you think Sami's gonna Survivor Series?
Me personally, it's kind of one of those thoughts. There's no way that they're gonna only have the belt on him for 5 days, and just to take it off of him, So
Right.
Yeah, how about now?
Just keep it on Ziggler. Like, there's no point.
yeah, but I think we're gonna be letting you go here and get on with the show. Thank you for calling, being the first caller. I guarantee you this
Yeah,
is Matthew,
thank you.
right?
All right.
By the way, who is this?
Bye. Huh?
Who is this?
Matthew.
That's what I thought. Nice. It's nice hearing from you, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Yes, thank you for calling.
Bye.
Bye bye.
How about now? Is my mic working?
No. It's my fault. I'll tell you later, okay?
Okay.
I can't say it here.
You're
but-
suppressing me.
No, I can't tell you on air. But yeah, let me ask you this, Andrew, since we weren't able to have you here, or Matthew, what are your thoughts? Does The Miz beat Sami Zayn at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental Championships? Who wins and why? I understand it's a prediction, but this is a curveball by the WWE. So this is
Yeah.
we can go on and talk about this.
Well, originally my prediction would have been that Sami Zayn walked away with the championship over Dolph Ziggler, and in retrospect, the Cruiserweight Championship would go to Kalisto, and so would the division. I'm going to still say that the Cruiserweight Championship is going to SmackDown. After tonight, though, I think the Intercontinental Championship is staying on SmackDown as well. I think that's going to be a curveball that's thrown in there. I think that Sami Zayn has a lot to work up to with the Spirit Squad and Maurice being at ringside. It's going to be a huge challenge for Sami Zayn. But, who knows? We could end up seeing a trade on Survivor Series. We could end up seeing the Intercontinental title go to Raw anyway and see Miz on Raw, which would be interesting.
Yeah, it could be interesting, but for me, I just don't see them giving the guy the title for 5 days and turning around and him losing it. I don't.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, Zack Ryder.
You're absolutely right. He didn't even have it for 24 hours. Well, he had it just over 24 hours.
But I mean, this is the Miz, and people don't give him enough credit. And if you haven't really given enough credit, um, you know, tonight's match and No Mercy have really shown you what type of a wrestler the Miz is. Love him or hate him, he can perform.
Right. Um, I don't know. What? Is there anything you're wanting to bring up?
Well, what about the I draw on a blank. What about no, it's just like
It's funny because I
I
do it
really
too.
wanted to
Don't worry.
talk about the Miz, and everything that happened, but I really want to touch base on like what happened um with the Nikki Bella match, leading into it, because that was a really good match leading into it. We really saw Carmella lay into Nikki Bella, and it looked like for a time that Nikki was actually really hurting. And of course, the women came in, jumped Nikki Bella, and there was that moment where you see Carmella, kind of look to the side, like, should I really do anything about it? And then she just jumps in. So, like, my question to you is, like, we're calling for the Raw women's division to, win, or at least I am. So, what I want to know is, do you think that the SmackDown women's division are going to stay a cohesive unit? And if not, is it going to cost them the match?
I think if you're gonna go off of that, and if I think that Carmella would turn. I do think that Carmella could turn on Team SmackDown. When it comes to the men's roster, it's kind of hard. I don't think the men's roster will. I don't think AJ will walk out.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think AJ is going to be the last man standing. In all honesty, and I think Ellsworth is going to have something to do with him winning.
I think in all honesty, it has to be between. If you ask me logically, who I think should be the final two, it should be Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, your two champions. But we do know that Roman Reigns is on the other team.
Yeah, and Roman Reigns is probably going to eliminate like 3 people.
Roman Reigns is God.
One man wrecking machine.
One man versus the world. Who will
You know,
win?
it,
The one man will.
you know, it's interesting to see that SmackDown put on such a good show, leading into Survivor Series, and it's really got me pumped for NXT. Like we're so close to NXT Takeover Toronto, and there's so much that's coming into the seams. It's kind of like SmackDown's over. It ushered in a really good transition to it, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And we always have high hopes for NXT. We always know to have low expectations for our WWE programming, but I really do feel good with at least some of the matches going into Survivor Series. And yes, I called it Survivor Series and not SummerSlam this time.
Are you sure? Like it could.
I could have definitely said SummerSlam, because that's all I could think about anymore. SummerSlam. Well, it was interesting too, because I was watching the SmackDown Live pre-show, and of course they mentioned the idea about Brock Lesnar facing Goldberg, and one of the questions the Hall of Fame pan out last Goldberg was, in our private time, was asked him, "Hey, did you ever see what happened to Randy Orton at SummerSlam?" And Goldberg's like, "I'm not Randy Orton."
Yeah. Matthew asks in chat, do you think Shane will do anything crazy at Survivor Series? The craziest thing that he would be doing would be coast to coast, but I don't see anything crazy happening. I just see him being a regular person and part of the match. In all honesty, I could also see Shane being the last man standing also.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely happen. I think it should be AJ. I think that if Shane is going to make a huge impact, I think it's not going to be on the Survivor Series elimination match. I think it's going to be on the Brock Lesnar match.
Right.
At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Man, this weekend has, and I'm gonna dwell on this. This weekend has so much potential to be so good. Just like I said, SummerSlam has the potential to be so good. SummerSlam was a flaw. look. I have no doubt that NXT Toronto will be good. I know it won't, or I know it will. Excuse me. And Survivor Series, it's like, ooh, maybe this time it'll be good. Ooh, 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 oh yes. Oh no, 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 it's bad. So, what do you think? What do you think the WWE gives us?
I'm hoping that they give us all around excellent programming. What I don't want to see, right, is what we did several pay-per-views in a row when it came to an NXT takeover. And that's where we saw NXT takeover like, wow, they tore the house down. You know what, but the card really looks good for the pay-per-view coming up. It's really good for SummerSlam, really good for Survivor Series. And then we get let down. Like the big letdown. You know, that's what I'm hoping not to see going forward with this weekend.
Right. It it's a big toss up. I'm really 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 hoping that this weekend we'll have Kyle back because I know he's been really really looking forward to these shows and everything, and he hasn't been able to do them unfortunately. Um, so he's from what he is telling me that he will be doing it this weekend. So we can look forward to seeing Kyle Saturday. Matthew says, "What if Shane gets a fake injury last minute because Owens puts him through a table backstage or something, so they have to put in Ellsworth?" I think Ellsworth is going to be getting in that match somehow or another. There's no way he won't be in that match. I don't know how. I don't think Shane's going to do a fake injury because here I don't want to really talk about it because I have a theory for Survivor Series real quick. Hang on 1 second. Gotta take a sip of my drink. So, I was wanting to wait until Saturday, but I'll go ahead and do it right now. My theory, and this, Andrew knows my theory, so this won't be his first time hearing. So my theory for Survivor Series is, we saw at SummerSlam, Shane McMahon get F5'd by Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar will F5, or not F5. I think Brock Lesnar will lose because of Shane McMahon interfering in his match with Goldberg, leading to a feud for WrestleMania. Now, can Brock Lesnar F5 Shane McMahon backstage? That's where that theory can come into play to hurt him and to have a fake injury. But that's the only way I can see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know if the injury idea would be something that goes ahead, but you know, it's interesting you said that. That, you know, could it be possible that somebody maintains an injury or has an injury and Ellsworth kind of gets thrown into the fray? You know, that would have been interesting. You know, the time to do that would have been last weekend when they announced that Shane McMahon was going to be on the roster. When Baron Corbin got hurt, that was the time. If they were going to put Ellsworth in that match as a regular competitor, it would have been there.
Yeah. I honestly thought it was going to be Ellsworth. I think I can go on record saying that I said that last week on Smackdown's review. Only on the Realest podcast.
Yeah.
That's when you get dun. But
Please pause for regular programming.
and we're gonna go to a commercial break. Do you like podcasts? Welcome to the Realest podcast.
Oh man.
But speaking of, we are going to have another voice for Survivor Series, possibly NXT Takeover. We will be getting a return from somebody, so so we will have another voice. If it could be 4, it could be 3, we don't know. So we will.
It's always important to stay tuned and find out, you know.
Only on the Realest podcast.
Yeah, cheap pop, right here. No, I'm just
right
kidding.
here on the Realest podcast. Speaking of, how come Shane or Stephanie and Mick can never go to Smackdown?
You know, that's an interesting question. It's almost as if it's beneath them. You know, but you know, Shane and Daniel Bryan are right there coming to Raw, and you know, I think that shows a lot going into this feud, especially since Raw is always proclaiming to be the dominant program, and in all honesty, SmackDown Live has proven to be the much better show.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we've kind of hit everything that we've needed to talk about, though. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't a very long night. It was only 2 hours.
Yeah.
Everything happened that really needed to happen. And it's interesting to see how tonight turned out. I was really shocked that they had the Intercontinental Championship match first. I think that it should have been much later in the program. But then again, I mean, how could you beat the ending of tonight's episode? It's like, how could he get mad at it for doing it that way?
But yeah, I completely agree with you. But if for anyone that just heard that nice little noise, that is the scariest noise you can ever get while doing a live show. Is hearing that noise because it means something is not working. Luckily, it was working because I clicked up on XSplit. But there's one thing I'm going to just be sticking to, and that is sticking to my guns on. I'm not going to be doing predictions and not giving big theories like I just did before our prediction shows. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, I give our theories and then boom, it's like, okay, well, if you listen to our show here and here, and it gives no point of listening to those shows. So that is why our shows are a bit shorter. And plus, we're also just coming back, so, viewership has fallen. And that's no big deal, of course. And to the people that listen today, thank you very, very much. And to the people that have been listening to us every time we upload, thank you very much. Because without you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. And, we've been gone for 3 months, and now we're back. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad to be back. This has been a lot of fun. But be sure to tune in Saturday for the prediction show. Going to be an hour before NXT TakeOver's prediction show hosted by Renee Young. So, again, when Renee Young does her pre-show, we will be live an hour before that. And on Sunday, we will be live at, starts at 5 Eastern. So, we'll be live at 4 Eastern. Like,
Wow.
I hate.
I can't believe it starts that early.
I can't stand when they do shows so early that I have to completely redo times because originally we do them at 5. That is usually our start time. No, so we're going to be doing. It starts at 7, so we'll be live at 5 Eastern. So 4 o'clock Central, and 2 o'clock Pacific time. We'll be live for Survivor Series, our pre-show for that, or prediction show. Again, there will be no shows at all this week in respect of Kyle. Next week is kind of debatable also since it is Thanksgiving week. So that's another debatable thing because I know that, Andrew might have something going on, Kyle might have something going on, I might have something going on. So, everything as of the shows right now are up in the air for next week, but I can tell you this, shows for this week are not going to happen in respect of Kyle. And if Kyle wants to bring that issue up, I will let him bring that up. But until next time, for Andrew, I'm Blake Carter. Andrew, any final thoughts on SmackDown or anything you're wanting to get off your chest?
No, I'm just happy to see that we can keep saying that SmackDown is really good and giving him 8 reviews and stuff like that. So, thank you all for listening. Thank you for our first call-in, Matthew. Congratulations. Keep up with us. I mean, even with the next week, you never know when our shows are going to be. Just keep liking our Facebook page, looking on our Twitter account. We'll keep you up to date with everything going on in the Realest Podcast news.
And our Twitter is at Realest Podcast, not the Realest Podcast. And our Facebook is the Realest Podcast. So
I know, a big giant confusion
look,
right there.
It's actually kind of funny. People have asked me, what is it? Because I searched this, and it's just like, no, gosh, dang it. So, until next time, or until Saturday, peace out. See you there.